Said CJ, what's crack-a-lacking, brother?
Hey, yeah, sorry for all the technical difficulties this morning. It had to be the YouTube servers. We tried the primary system, we tried the backup system, so it was no luck, but we're here now. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters, man. We're here to rock and roll. With that being said, my brother, what is the topics of the day? I mean, there's a lot of things on the menu here.
Yeah,
Where do
absolutely.
we begin?
Yeah, I think we needed to talk a little bit. I mean, there's so much anxiety and everything going on right now, V, in terms of the political turmoil, what's happening in Europe regarding the election coming up. There's just so much going on, and it's causing fits with the markets right now.
Yeah, 1000%, man. Well, I guess where we can begin is there is a stealth flight to safety going on, is it not? I mean, we've been vocal about this for over the last 3 years on record, CJ, that there is a flight to safety. We've been documenting it. We've been talking about it. But what's the mainstream saying now? What we've been talking about for the last 3 years?
Well, yeah, just that right now there's a big flight out of, you know, there's nobody's buying anyone's debt anymore. That's the biggest
Hmm.
thing. That there's, so when you look at the debt in, Germany, for example, you take a look what's happening with their markets and their currency.
Yeah,
It's just, right now just devastating in terms of what's happening, and everyone keeps wondering what's going on with the elections and. Is the EU going to be solvent? Is not going to be solvent?
right.
Greece. You got Greece going on. There's just so much turmoil.
Yeah, absolutely correct, man. And not only is anybody not buying anybody's debt, there's a solvency crisis. We've been talking about a liquidity crisis, which has led to a solvency crisis since 2008, and it's spreading rampant. You see it all over the EU. You see it all over the US. And what's happening in the EU is pretty interesting. Now, EU has a thing called the Target 2. Okay, the Target 2 is basically an indicator, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. I think it was what the heck's this guy's name? It's Mike. Mike Sherlock, his website, Mish Talk, Mike said it perfectly. Okay. He said this. He said the Eurozone target two imbalances have touched or exceeded the crisis levels hit in 2012 when Greece was on the verge of leaving this Eurozone. Others have noted the growing imbalance as well. Now, the target two stands for the Trans European Automated Real Time Gross Settlement System. And it's a reflection of capital flight from basically the pigs, the Club Med countries, i.e., Greece, Spain, Italy, and whatnot, to the banks that are in Northern Europe. Okay. Peter Trenenbaum, an Acting Man blog, provides an easy to understand example. He said, Spain pretty much imports German goods, but no Spanish goods or capitals have been acquired by any private party in Germany in return. So the trade basically, folks, is extremely one-sided. The only thing that has been acquired is an IOU issued by the Spanish commercial bank to the Bank of Spain in return for funding the payment. That's about it. Now, this is not the same as an auto loan from a dealer or a bank. In the case of Target 2, central banks are guaranteeing the IOU. Okay. Now, Target 2 also encompasses people yanking deposits from a bank in their country and parking them in somewhere else, either in a Northern European bank or even outside of the country. Greece was the perfect example, folks. And the result, what happened in Greece? We saw right quick and right immediately capital controls. Now, if Italy or Greece or any country were to leave the Eurozone and default on the Target 2 balance, which right now, that Target 2 balance is approaching $1 trillion. It's about 800 billion euros, about 900, close to about 900 billion US dollars. Okay. So we're getting close to that $1 trillion range here. Okay. If anybody defaults on that, the rest of the countries would have to make up the default according to the percentage within their Eurozone. This is the most craziest setup, CJ. This is a setup. It's like you're putting together a swim team. You probably have two or three. You have one really good swimmer, which is Germany. You have an okay swimmer, which is France, and you have a and then everybody else is mediocre. Okay, and what they have to do is you have a bunch of other swimmers who are absolutely useless. They can't even swim their own way. You're all tying them by their ankles together, and they're going to have to pull ashore. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to drown the system. The system cannot sustain itself. The debt has become completely unpayable. That's why, one of the questions that Ambrose Evans Pritchard at the Telegraph, he says this. He goes, are the Eurozone central banks still solvent? The answer is no. The vast liabilities are being switched quietly. Think about this for a second. The liabilities are being switched quietly from private banks and investment funds onto the shoulders of taxpayers across Southern Europe. In other words, again, we're seeing the same model that we've seen in 2008 with the banksters, where they privatize the profits and they socialize the risk. In other words, the banks are acting like complete. These banks and private institutions are acting like nationalized entities, like they've been nationalized. They are privatizing all the profits, and they are nationalizing. Okay, they are socializing all the risk. They're putting the taxpayer in the eurozone on the hook. But of course, the eurozone taxpayer is freaking clueless because most libtard socialistic countries, the average person and the capacity to understand math is extremely poor. So they don't see that this is happening. They think, oh, it's wonderful because the state is there to look out for me. There's no democratic decision by any parliament to take on these fiscal debts rapidly approaching $1 trillion. Again, they are unintended side effects of quantitative easing by the ECB, which is degenerated into a conduit for capital flight from the Club Med bloc to Germany, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. The socialization of risk is happening by stealth, a mechanical effect of the ECB's Target 2 payment systems. If a political upset in France or Italy triggers, i.e. Le Pen, or nationalists taking control in Italy, the existential euro crisis over the coming months, citizens from both the eurozone's debtor and creditor countries will discover to their horror what has been done to them. As always, the debt markets are the barometers of stress. Yields on 2-year German debt fell to an all-time low of minus 0.92% on Wednesday, a sign that something very strange is happening. Alarm bells are starting to ring again. Our flow data is picking up serious capital flight into German safe haven assets. It feels like the build-up to the Eurozone crisis in 2012, said Simon Derrick of BNY Mellon. This is big, CJ, and nobody's really covering this.
No, it's absolutely huge. And if you don't think for a moment that the whole Eurozone does not see what we're doing here in the United States in regards to the massive quantitative easing that we're doing, the massive dollar printing that we're doing, they're losing hope. The hope of the West and the IMF and the days of just bailing each other's debt out. It's not going to last. You have countries that are talking about reinstituting their own currencies now because they're like, why would we want U.S. treasuries now? They're junk, and we don't produce the goods to do it anyway because our economies are so stagnant.
Right. Exactly. And where the hell are the rating agencies? Where the hell are the regulators? They're walking in lockstep with this nonsense. This is reckless behavior. And they're right there saying everything's hunky-dory. I mean, where are your rating agencies? I mean, for once, can you morons do... No, you can't even do your job for once, can you? It's horrible. And what's going to happen again is the same thing, CJ. It's going to be the people that are going to be caught with their pants down, bro. Again, it's going to be the people that's going to get fleeced and hurt.
Yeah, it's not going to be these big investment banks and these big investment traders. The everyday person consumer is going to be hurt by this. Just no different than 2008, V. And we just cannot let this happen where they come up with this new program of we're going to bail these people out, we're going to bail the banks out. I mean, nobody went to jail here in the United States. I think that's the most disheartening thing. You see in other countries where they're prosecuting these bankers, where all we did was just allow the entire government to the banks to basically just give the government money, as opposed to and it's not even their money. It's the U.S. taxpayers' money.
Oh, 1,000%. And this is the problem. This is why I tell everybody who's a listener of the show in Germany, you guys need to wake the hell up. Okay, because under Target 2, Spain can't foot the bill. Guess who's footing the bill? You are. Italy can't foot the bill. Who's footing the bill? You are. Greece can't foot the bill. Who can't foot the bill? You are. You're going to foot the bill. On top of that, you're also holding 90% of French debt. What's going to happen when that shakeup happens with Le Pen? You're in a danger zone. Not only do you have an idiot a woman with clipped hair that looks like a football running your country, an absolute moron named Merkel, but on top of that, you have this stupidity of an economic policy. Wake the hell up, Germany. Like, what the hell's going on with you guys? It's unreal, CJ. Nobody comes out of this unscathed. Nobody comes out of this thing alive, CJ. Everybody's going to drown. Everybody's going to drown because the strongest swimmer has been shackled to the weakest swimmers. they're all going to drown. It's going to kill everybody,
Yeah, absolutely,
fiscally
absolutely.
speaking.
Yeah, fiscally speaking, absolutely. And then we see what Warren Buffett's doing, V, in terms of the markets, and what he's put, where he's waging his investments and his money, right? So
Yeah, let's talk about that, CJ. Go
yeah,
ahead, man. Break that
yeah,
down.
yeah, no, he understands. He completely is basically putting his money on the index, right? He's focusing on, no one wants to buy their stock at the highest price, right? Nobody wants to be that I'm going to buy in at the high mark and then boom, lose my pants off in the next month. So he's banking his money on the index investment, and he's wagering in on those gaps. So and what they've determined, V, when you look at this, is that, and this is ridiculous when you think of the market. So yes, the markets are way up, but when you actually break it down, and this comes from a finance professor in his latest research, Hendrik Bissenbender, discovered, V, that 58% of the stocks, V, don't even outperform the U.S. Treasury bill.
That's terrible.
So based upon this data, that when you look at, his study was based upon 26,000 stocks. When you look at that, V, it just basically what it says is that just 4% of stocks account for the 31.8 trillion in gains during the period of 1926 to 2015.
That's unreal, man. It just goes. How this breaks my heart because index investing. I have crap in an index fund, and I'm like, wow, it's. And this is the problem. And here's, this article goes on to say, like with Vanguard, okay, it says the great appeal of index investing is its low fees, but like buying a cheap pair of shoes that falls apart after 6 months, investors will find that index investing is the most expensive thing they ever did. Vanguard promotes its rock bottom expense ratios, but what's not published is market impact costs that are incurred when the fund rebalances. Since these rebalances are often announced ahead of time, they're extremely vulnerable to front running. Christopher Bernard, PhD of senior scientist at Winton Capital Management, estimates the front running costs. My God, front running index investors are 0.20% per year. That's 4 times the official expense ratio of Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF. And dude, this is unreal, man. That means like 96% of, 96% of stocks are complete garbage. And the worst part is, man, while mom and pops buy Vanguard Index with $500,000 of their retirement funds, and then they get front run all day by prop traders, bro. The capitalist televangelist Warren Buffett will continue to get on there with actively traded billions while preaching the miracle, like Dave Ramsey, like preaching the miracle of buy and hold investing. Wow. Speechless, bro.
It is, V, and when you look at it, that's why it makes absolutely no sense. You see that like, for example, recently came out that J.C. Penney's is shuttering. I think they're closing like 150 stores, something like that. You continue to hear all these stories of different retailers that are closing the doors, and yeah, you can blame online banking and Amazon on that. I completely get that. But whenever we review the information that we've covered here at Rogue Money, we talk about consumer debt is at an all-time high. We talk about the defaults that are occurring on auto loans right now.
Yeah.
There's we're coming up on a perfect storm of what's happening, and it's turning into a tsunami, and really everyone's just kind of waiting right now to see what's going to happen, what's the next step. And this obviously explains, the markets, and it looks like just a few companies are taking charge of that market and leading the way. And what that does is to the lower guy on the totem pole is that we're left to either follow the same suit and invest high, or we lose our there's still money to be made in the market, right? I mean, you still can, but it's a fake market. It's completely rigged.
Oh, 1,000%. It's totally rigged.
It's totally rigged. It's a complete fake market. So, and then you see what the states are doing. So many states right now in the discussion regarding precious metals and gold, and states passing laws to allow gold to become currency and not charging capital gains taxes on the money that they use when they convert their gold into to currency. So again, we're seeing all the signs that are there, V, and countries accumulating gold. It just makes you wonder what exactly is going on.
Yeah, exactly. Very, well said. I mean, this is why we've been saying for quite some time. If you're gonna get involved in the market, learn to trade, man. Learn to trade. If you're not gonna be there managing your own fund, you're gonna leave your destiny in the hands of somebody else. And this was gonna happen. It's there are people that there are still some index funds out there that are doing well, but they're not gonna. How much longer are they gonna be doing well for? Is the question. Everything's finite. Everything's finite. So if you're not going to learn how to trade, that's why we have Dex on board, and Dex has his his trading academy that people can get involved in and learn how to trade this, that, and the other. Take the routes, at least go out there and make some money on this because you're going to make a killing. The market is a cash machine right now. It's a cash machine, but you got to learn how to play because there's a lot of things that are happening right now that are stressors with various negative feedback loops that are affecting stock prices. That like for instance, the whole rebalancing costs that have gone up for various index funds, that can kill people in terms of fees. It's unreal, man. It's like I said before. I mean, there are people out there. You sit down with people, and you're like, "Oh, what's your fees you're paying? Oh, I'm only paying 2% fee." You analyze what the heck's being done. They're getting killed. 10, 15% easy, easy.
Right, right.
It's
Yeah,
unreal,
and
man.
I know we got London Paul, coming up on, later on, but you know, you were one of the very first ones to say this. You said this. I remember that day you were saying on the air that regarding Trump and his presidency that you would establish that right now we can build up our industries as much as possible, as fast as we can, quickly as we can, but Trump and his ability to manage debt. His companies that have been through bankruptcy, insolvency, and building
Yeah,
his way back and coming back and making things great again. And again, I say this over and over just because I feel that we have to, but the whole reason that I felt that Trump was the better option. Number one, he's not a career politician. Number two is the fact that I did not want Hillary Clinton in office. So
right.
I don't want our listeners to constantly think, oh, they're just a talking piece, mouthpiece for the administration. It's not. But when you look at the
No.
outcome of what could have happened, and now we're faced with what's coming at us right now, I think it's the smartest choice to have somebody that deals in business, that deals in negotiating, that deals with all the things of what it may look like in the event that we have to repair America financially.
Absolutely. This whole system has to go. Bix has been screaming from the mountaintops about this for decades, for years now. This system needs to crash. It's got to go. So many other top guys out there, guys like Jim Rogers, who we've had on, Schiff, various other individuals, some who get it, some who don't, some who get a better, broader picture of it. We've been saying for years, it's got to go. This whole system needs to be purged. You cannot build anything on top of the system. That's why we had Charles Hugh Smith on Friday. He says, if you think they wouldn't have a gold standard built on top of this fractional reserve lending, you're out of your mind. It's not going to work. We need to go to an honest banking system. And what we have right now, there's zero honesty whatsoever, bro.
Exactly, and the thing that makes it very unique about this time is that there is always a variation of topics, variation of opinions, right, of what's going to happen. But V,
Hmm.
now when I look at it, when I do my research, when I'm looking at everything, we're getting that consistent message over and over and over again that it's not sustainable, and it's every person that's saying it right now. And shoot, we even have Forbes that's coming out and saying, you know what, it's time for President Trump to take charge and replace the dollar
Yep.
with gold.
Yeah. Explain that to the people, bro.
Well, yeah. So there's a contributor to Forbes, Ralph Benko, who basically understands. Trump is an advocate of gold and metals. He's openly has made comments, and recently in his CPAC, when he talks specifically, quote unquote, this is specifically what he said, that global cooperation dealing with other countries, getting along with other countries is good. It's very important, but there is no such thing as a global anthem, a global currency, or a global flag. This is the United States of America that I'm representing. So basically, he takes that message to go on and say, well, you're right as far as the global currency. If you're going to say that, well, understand this right now, Mr. President, that right now the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency right now,
Yeah.
is the reserve currency. So if you don't feel that there's any global currency right now, then it's time to move to possibly move to restore America back to the gold standard, actually make our currency worth something.
Right. Right. Absolutely, it has to be worth something. I mean, our currency's lost 98% of its value. We're talking about the trend that we're going to be losing the other 2%, and people think it's a conspiracy theory. No, it's you morons. It's a conspiracy fact. It has to be done. I mean, if we don't return, and this is what I'm saying, it's like like you said earlier, Trump was the better choice. It gives us a chance to build up our economy, our physical economy, not the freaking casino in Wall Street, not the fictitious phony baloney paper economy that means nothing, where nobody really owns a stock, but they think they own it. Everybody's a beneficiary owner. Who really owns it is a DTCC. That's where the actual stock holding is, and you own jack crap. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is owning something tangible. And the only way you can own something tangible is if you have a real economy. We need a real economy. We need to get out of this phantom phony baloney BS, man. And the quicker we do it, the better off we are. Which brings us to another thing, the Fort Knox audit. What's going on with that? Our boy Coos Johnson was talking about this. We need to get Coos John. Me and Coos communicated before. As he's out in Singapore, and one of our operations with my business partners happens to be out in Singapore as well, so kind of know each other through that route. But what did Coos say?
Well, basically, and his efforts in terms of really through the Freedom of Information Act, requesting the U.S. Mint to release their audit reports. So, he's had to, constantly pressure them to get, to do this. But basically, they've released an audit report from 1993 through 2008.
Wow.
And it was related to the physical audits of U.S. official gold reserves.
Mm-hmm.
However, and this is quote unquote, the documents released are incomplete and reveal the audit procedures have not been executed proficiently. Moreover, because the Mint could not honor its promise in full, the cost that was associated with it, and they refunded it. So what this tells me, just in a nutshell, V, is that they have no idea what's there, and nor are they going to
No.
produce truth data. They're not going to, V.
Yeah, 1,000%, man. And the way this happened is, Coos is saying that his readers donated to a crowdfunding campaign, and he's able to force the U.S. Mint through a Freedom of Information Act to request to hand over documents related to the physical audits of the U.S. official gold reserves stored at the Mint, also referred to as deep storage gold. Although the PDF pack digitally sent to me is redacted, incomplete, includes pages copied twice, and materials I didn't ask for, this is the closest thing I've ever seen to a physical audit documentation at the gold at Fort Knox and at other Mint depositories drafted between 1993 and 2008. What is worrying is that the reports in my possession reveal audit procedures have not been done. Okay? Combine that with the fact that documents are incomplete and redacted, the result is suspicion of fraud. I mean, think about that, man. Because the whole thing is this: the U.S. government is totally tight-lipped about the Fort Knox audits. Why? Because it's not there. Nobody knows this. The bankers. They're like, all right, sure, we'll return to a physical economy. When this whole global economic reset happens, what are we going to bring to the table? China's like, hey, guess what, guys? We lied. We don't have 1,600 metric tons of gold. We have 30,000 metric tons of gold. What do you got? And then Russia pulls up their skirt, and they're like, look, we have over 20,000 metric tons of gold strapped to our crotch. And what about what's America? We're gonna pull up our skirts, and people are gonna find that we have trash, recyclables, and pornography, because we're a bunch of assholes running the country. We never got Trump a chance to allow investment into our nation and start creating real jobs and get our factories humming again. We didn't do that. We've been too busy fighting the American Maidan because the leftist retards and George freaking Soros and Carlos Slim. And this is what happens. We have nothing to bring to the table. That's what's going to happen, folks. If this ship doesn't correct itself, I'm telling you, if Trump doesn't crack the backs of the Carlos Slim, George Soros, Clintonistas, if he doesn't crack the backs of those guys, if there is no high-profile arrest in the next 3 to 6 months, we are fucked. I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Use my language.
No, it's a passion, bro. It's a passion, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. These idiots in DC that undermining the efforts on both sides. these
Yeah.
idiots that are calling for impeachment within the first 100 days. You have Obama aligning with Hillary in all these efforts to undermine the
It's
United
unbelievable.
States. It's unreal.
Dude, they're pulling. I'm writing my third article, American Maidan Part 3. It's going to be up this week, probably Wednesday. They've already pulled in $2.5 billion. They're pulling it together, CJ. CJ, remember what I talked about in American Maidan Part 1? That there was a meeting
Yeah.
with Comey and 40 other individuals. There's 17 investigations that are targeted to
Yep.
go up against Trump with the effect of hobbling him, with the effect of having him embroiled in legal trouble and on impeachment charges, this, that, and the other. 17 investigations, right? What
Exactly.
what we talked about and what I broke in that story, American Maidan Part 2, it's already starting to leak out to the press. What do you think you have Daryl Issa saying, oh, there needs to be an independent prosecutor? That's the first thing, man. It's starting to leak out already. Trump has to move. I get this whole, pedophile thing. Start cracking down. Arresting Jerry Sandusky's son. Hey, that's great. Let's get some info out of this bastard.
Absolutely.
There has
Absolutely.
to be a high-profile arrest in 6 months. Otherwise, we're in a world of hurt, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's it, my man. Anything else on your radar?
No, that's it. That's it, Vi.
Awesome, bro.
Again, to our listeners, we're going to upload this to YouTube. I'll try to do it as quickly as possible. I apologize for the delays and the issues this morning, but it was really out of our control. And then I appreciate those joining us on Facebook today.
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening in. This is V, the Gorilla, and my main man, CJ, the Denizen of the Deep, who is able to get this done and pull this whole thing together. Hats off to my man, CJ, and we'll see you guys back in about 45 minutes when we have London Paul on. We'll see if we can get that live. If not, we'll have to pre-record that as well. You folks have a great day. Go forth and be epic. We're out.